My name is Aida Macedo, and I'm running for Whittier City Council District 4.
Today's moon shooter is Aida Macedo, an attorney, business owner, and candidate for City Council. In this video, Aida breaks down her agenda for the upcoming City Council election. She talks about how she plans to build representative government, public safety, and smart growth that truly reflects what residents want.
What is your ultimate moonshot?
I will continue to do things that make me uncomfortable.
Why are you the best candidate?
To me, it's personal. I just really want to be an accessible council member. I'm not this person on a podium. I'm just their neighbor.
Aida Macedo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You are candidate for Whittier City Council.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about yourself?
Yeah, so I grew up in Southeast LA. I was raised by a single mom and two older brothers. And both my brothers are union workers. My brother has lived in Whittier in the area for 20 years. And I'm a business owner as well. I'm an attorney by training. And I decided to jump into this race to run into office out of my frustration about the way that the local government is run here in Whittier.
Let's jump right in. What was those key frustrations that you had?
So the first issue I had was I had a really simple issue at the park, but I have worked for cities in the past. In my career, I've been a chief of staff or a council member, so I'm familiar with the way that cities work. So when I called my council member about an issue at the park, I was surprised that I got the runaround about a repair. It was for the children's park by my house, and I take my son there all the time, and it took a really long time to fix a bolt on this bridge. And that was the first time that I realized, first of all, that we don't really have representative government on city council in Whittier. And second of all, that it was very, I thought, amateur the way that they were running things. And so that was the first incident that I had with city government.
How long have you been in Whittier?
I've lived in Whittier for about 4 years. My brother's lived in Whittier and his family for about 20 years.
So what can you tell us about Whittier that is special? What's special about this city?
I think the first thing is that even though Whittier's in Southeast LA, it does feel very homey to me. When my husband and I were looking to buy a house, we happened to drive down La Cuarta, which is a full of trees, like a tree canopy. And I completely fell in love with it just in terms of the green space and the trees. And I felt that it was very conducive to raising a young family. I have a 4-year-old. And even though I love LA, I don't like living in really busy urban areas. So I like that Whittier has a mix of, yes, it's still in LA County, but it has a small town feel. And I really wanted that for my family.
Your competitors in this race are going to immediately say, oh, she's new to Whittier. Mm-hmm. So what's your response to that?
I'm not new to Whittier because I spent a lot of time in Whittier with my brother and his family, spent all my Christmases here. I'm also a Southeast LA girl. I left for college and I was in Orange County. I went to UC Irvine. And then I went to law school at UC Davis. After I went to law school, I spent some time in the Central Valley in Fresno because I wanted to work on workers' rights issues and I wanted to be where rural communities were. And then when I had my son and my family, I decided to move back home. To me, Whittier is home. And I started my business here. I have my firm in Uptown. I'm a member of the Whittier Chamber. I have an investment in the community. And to me, it was important that I made my way back home. Even when I've lived in other places, there was opportunities for me to run for office, and I chose not to because I didn't feel that those places were my home.
Right. And often enough, when we come to a new place, we are looking at things with fresh new eyes. I remember when I moved from Dubai to the US, for me, I want to pursue my American dream, and I thought that America is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then when I come here, I have a baseline to compare to, and I think what happens with you is something similar. You've lived in different places, you don't have tunnel vision, you don't think that this is how everything is we're used to do it this way. That means that it has to stay the same way. So you have that kind of fresh perspective, fresh look at things.
For sure.
And what caught your eye? I remember you told us about the initial incident, but what other drivers that makes you feel that now it's time to go and run?
I think that the issues happening nationally with the violation of civil rights, the ICE rates, the pressure on local government to really lead cities really called my attention to the lack of leadership in Whittier. So I'll give you an example. In June, my mother, who also lives in Whittier, was going to our local Mexican grocery store at the Quad, and ICE showed up. And my mom's a U.S. citizen, but she doesn't speak English very well. And somebody warned her, like, ICE is here. And so she freaked out. She called me. I was at work, so I didn't pick up my phone. And to me, that was really insulting that she felt unsafe in her own country. And so I called my council member once again about the issue. And I called city council, and I was met with like a condescending tone about my concerns. And so that was kind of the second kind of strike for me in terms of noticing how the local government is running Whittier.
And how would you do it differently?
I think I'm giving the public kind of a sample of what I would do differently through my campaign. So one of the top, something that I've been doing very intentionally in my campaign is making sure that I am a present person and resident in the community, because I am affected by any policies at the local level. So I've been doing a lot of meet and greets at the local parks. I've been doing coffees where people can come talk to me. I've been going door to door every single weekend. I've been speaking at different organizations with different clubs. I've been reaching out to school board members. So I've been really trying to bring a more collaborative approach to leadership in Whittier. And if elected, that's what I will continue to do and build upon, if I get elected into office.
All right. So I want to touch more on the ICE rates. We've heard about 2 people, unfortunately, lost their life in ICE raids recently. And I know that, a lot of people think it's a federal government issue, but what can the city do to protect its citizens?
I think that there is a lot that local city government can do. There is not one approach or answer that is correct. I mean, to me, the issue about the ICE rates has gone beyond immigration, because now we're talking about the Constitution and people's constitutional rights, regardless of immigration status. To me, it's a public safety issue, it's a community safety issue, and it's a rule of law issue. When you have a government who is not following the law and the Constitution, I think as a local city council, it's our responsibility to, one, at the very minimum, keep our citizens and our residents informed about their rights, which I haven't seen our council do any type of sponsored workshops or anything of that sort. Two, I think we still can be doing a lot of rapid response in terms of food and food drives and things that the community needs urgently. And then third, I think we still have to continue to pass legislation or policies that hold the officers responsible for not identifying themselves and for not actually having warrants to enter into people's homes. So I think there are a lot of different approaches that we can take, and I think we need to try them all, or do as many as we can, because it's not a matter of when ICE is coming back to Whittier. I mean, they really never stopped coming in Southeast LA. It's a matter of when they're going to be back and how bad is it going to be. So we need to be ready.
The community and listening to them, because a lot of the success in politics really goes down to how effective we listen to what people want. What people are telling you from those engagements?
I've been surprised at how many people have never heard from our elected or, our council member. A lot of people have not heard anything about our local elections, which to me is a huge disservice. Some folks have said, oh, I haven't heard from anyone from the city in over 10 years. My opponent has been in office for over 20 years.
Wow.
And so to me, that really explains the disconnect. And so I think to be a good leader and to actually have representative government, which is one of my top issues, you have to be out in the community. You have to be uncomfortable, right? You can't just sit on the dais and rule from the dais. You have to actually go out and talk to residents. And I think there's this attitude of, well, it's on the agenda. People should know what's happening. But the reality is we live in a modern world, right? Parents are working, the kids are at school, people are doing things, they're working on their house, whatever it is. It's up to the leaders to bring that information to residents. So a lot of what I've been telling people at the door is, I'm looking to bring people into City Hall and give you information about what's going on.
But 20 years in office, I mean, that isn't even defeats democracy. I think my idea, again, I'm a stranger to America, but when I moved here, is the whole point of democracy is that there's transfer of power, there is checks and balances, there's accountability. If you do good, you get voted for. If not, you get punished for that. And I heard in my research some really alarming matters that is taking place, especially the way the meetings are conducted. The public is not aware of anything pretty much. So what are the red flags that you're seeing every day when it comes to running the city?
Yeah, so there has been I would say a movement from the community to put term limits on city council, because right now there are no term limits. So you can serve for a very long time and it's totally fine. I think that is a disservice because, like you said, you don't get fresh ideas in there. You don't get a fresh perspective. It's a way, I think, to just really gatekeep who is making decisions for the city. And it really is disconnected from the changes in the community and what people need. So it's a top-down type of governance as opposed to, like you said, being actually a democratic process where you're listening to residents, you're responding to them, as opposed to telling them what you think is best for them.
Like, let's say you're elected. What are the things that you can promise the residents? So what are the things that you can immediately control, immediately get done in the first 90 days, for example?
Well, I think immediately I will definitely be doing town halls if I get elected in order to bring more information to residents. I've already been doing that as a candidate, but I think it's different as a council member. One of the big issues right now is the trees issue on Greenleaf. That's set to go to trial this month. And so I do want to make one of my priorities, if elected, to look more into the plans that we have in the pipeline for development in the city, and are those aligned with residents? So really kind of doing a deep dive into that. And I think the biggest thing I can promise is that I will bring that information to the public and I won't make decisions that are not in the best interest of residents.
So I want to talk to you about the public comments. I heard a lot of issues with that. So what can you say about this?
I think that it's really unfortunate and a disservice to the public to limit public comment. So initially, you were able to join the city council meeting via Zoom, and you could see the speaker giving public comment, and you can hear them, right? But then city council about a month ago, I think, limited the visual. So now you can't see the person. At first, you couldn't hear them, nor see them. You could only see council. Now it's to the point where you can hear them, but you can't see them. And my thing is, why limit that? Why limit that when you should want more civic engagement? You should want the public to have an interest in what's happening in the city. Criticism is part of the gig. Criticism is part of the gig when you're in public office. That's why it's public office, right? You're saying to the public, I'm the representative, and you're going to bring those issues to me. You can't hide from that. And I do think that the council is trying to silence people, and they don't want folks to take video from that and put it on social media because they don't want people to know what's happening. And so, if I get into office, I would like to change that and work on that and make it more transparent, make it easier for people to join, make it more accessible so that people are more engaged with the city.
Yeah, that looks like it to me. When you're trying to, limit people's appearance and you're trying to control any video spread on social media. And even I have a social media agency. I know the importance and how social media can make or break the elections. And so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to minimize the criticism so they can appear.
Right. And I don't think that they're very engaged with the community. There's also this attitude of not being open to new residents and newcomers. I don't believe that Whittier is as welcoming as it should be. I've heard from some residents that I talked to at the door that have lived in Whittier maybe 10 years, 10, 15 years, like my brother, right? 20 years. They don't feel like they're part of the community or that they have been welcomed into the community. They still feel kind of like outsiders. And to me, that's a missed opportunity, right? You want to, as a council member, as a leader, you want to build this, this excitement for your city. You want residents to feel like they're welcome and they're part of the community, no matter how long they have lived there, because everybody has something to contribute to the community.
How would you do that?
I think being very intentional about the type of events that the city puts on and sponsors. I think having events that, maybe are targeting children, but also seniors, targeting maybe, high school students, or, thinking about being very inclusive in terms of like what type of programming we do and how intentional we are about that.
So your campaign, you tackled immigration. You talked about the trees. We talked about the public comments and how city council is being run. Talk to me about development.
So one of the reasons that local government exists is because the way that we have shaped our government is that we as a society have said in our democracy, the people that are the closest to residents know what's best in terms of how to develop their city, right? That's really a big function of city councils. And I know that because I've worked for city councils in the past, and I worked at the state level and national level on policy. But the local level, I think, is very special because it really does affect your everyday movement and life, right? So what kind of drive-throughs do we have? Do we have an overdevelopment of car washes like Whittier, or massage parlors? Or are we building high rises, or are we building horizontally? Are we taking care of our Greenway Trail? Are we expanding the trail? All that is decided by local government. And as you can foresee, that impacts residents. And so if you build a bunch of car washes, massage parlors, drive-throughs, that's not the best, right, for your residents. That's not the healthiest. That's not the most aesthetically pleasing. And so that's why the city has a planning commission who gets like a first review of development, and then it goes to council. Council's supposed to act as kind of a guard or a watchdog for the community residents and object to what the planning commission may or may not approve. In my opinion, right now, that's not happening. The system's not working how it's supposed to. One, I think, is lazy governance. Two, I think we don't have trust in our planning commission because of certain commissioners that are on there. It's seen as a favor to folks to get those appointments. So I think we need to clean that up, and we need to make sure that residents are aware about the developments that are coming in and that they don't find out after the fact when not much can be done about it.
Yeah. I've seen that funny video on social media where, again, for me, I'm just an observer. I'm just someone who sees things and react to them.
Yeah.
But there's this video where for the car wash companies and like pushing for it, and then at the same time, um, complaining about having too many cars. So there's a lot of hypocrisy there in the messaging and how the public is receiving that mixed message from the leadership.
Yeah, and I actually called into to council this past week, and I gave public comment about that and how now my opponent and the council is backtracking on those decisions when they're the ones who voted to get that in there, and it's because it's election season. But also, I think the car washes are just like an example of the bigger issue, which is the way that the city is being developed and the way that I think the city is being overdeveloped and kind of sold out for the benefit of private stakeholders as opposed to the public and residents.
So you mentioned you're a lawyer. What kind of law and how's your day job going?
Yeah, so I have my own law firm in Uptown Whittier. I practice estate planning on the legal side. That's a lot of my work, which is creating trust wills and documents that help protect folks from basically, if they pass away or incapacitated, leaving somebody in charge of their estate. A lot of families actually don't know about estate planning unless they're very, very wealthy, and they have that from the very beginning. And so when I saw that there was a gap, I started practicing in that area. Before that, I did personal injury law and also some policy work. And so, at a certain point, I wanted to have my own office and I wanted to have my own law firm. As a mom, I really like the flexibility of having my own business because if there's like if my son has an event at school or a soccer game, I have a flexible schedule. And so that's really also what drove me to start my own business. And I really enjoy it. I am one of those people that do enjoy practicing law.
How does being a lawyer is going to help your position, your upcoming position in Whittier?
Yeah, so I joke with a lot of friends because they say, I don't know how you can sit through a city council meeting. Like some parts are very dense, very like legal heavy, and like a lot of the decisions that are made by council have to do with contracts and lawsuits and approving permits for things and all that stuff. And to me, I think it's fascinating because I think the way my brain works is like I see what the law is, but I also see the policy implications because I think I grew up in a very low-income household, and I've been able to do so much in my career and been in very wealthy and well thought out like cities that I can compare now the difference. So I think my legal background, my policy background, and also my life experience brings a different perspective and analysis to it that I don't think many people have. And I also really like it. Like I'm geeky, I
You
love
enjoy it.
I enjoy it. I'm like, okay, let me see what this contract says,
Exactly.
and so I think I would be very, I would just pay very close attention. Yeah.
For sure. And this leads me to the question that if someone is listening or watching, why are you the best candidate for this position?
I think I'm the best candidate because I really do care about the future of Whittier, right? Like I think a lot of parents may relate to this, but when I was not a mom and I was just like single and I lived in different cities, I didn't really care that much as much about the development of a city or the future of a city because it was just about me and I was mobile. I was just like go to different places. now that I have like my son and my husband and my mom and my nephews and my nieces who are all growing up in Whittier and my brothers, like to me, it's personal. Like I want to have a voice because there are a lot of families like my family who want to see Whittier flourish. We want it to be inclusive. We want it to be a place that has a good restaurants, like a lot of people ask about. We want Whittier to be somewhere where people want to be at and invest in Whittier so that it's a good community for all of us. And so I think that I bring that personal goal in addition to the technical expertise that I have as a lawyer and a policy person.
And 20 years is enough. Let's see some change, for God's sake.
I agree.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you, but you feel that you need to send that message to those listening to us?
I think that at the crux of my campaign, like I just really want to be an accessible council member. I want people to reach out to me and feel like I'm not this like person on a podium. I'm just their neighbor, who happens to be on city council. That has been one of the things I enjoy about the campaign. There are a lot of things I don't enjoy about campaigning, but one of them is the people. I like when people text me or email me, or, we've been having little meet and greets at people's homes. And I think it's really special that, we keep that in Whittier where we know our neighbors' names, we help each other out. If there's an emergency, like we're there for each other, because I think what we've seen in the past, 20 years of, our history and our government, we've become so divided, and we've become also so insular where we just like feel alone. And I think that Whittier really has the potential to be the opposite of that. And it is that to a certain extent, but I think we can extend that even more and be more inclusive.
As a surprise for pre-Valentine's, she got an astronomer to come here with the telescope, because we have very dark skies here and beautiful, like no light pollution or anything. And we were looking at the sky, and we were looking at the moon, and we have a moon right here. And I think the reason why I'm fascinated by looking at the moon and is that because the moon, especially the moon, because we put men on that foreign flying moon, which I really can't wrap my head around it. But that is a testament for the human accomplishment. If we set our mind to something, even if it seems impossible at the time, but we do it, just like, the famous speech of Kennedy, where we choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And you're choosing to go for a candidate. Nobody's like, I'm sure that people will say why bother, right? But you are choosing the hard thing. You're choosing a moonshot to go and make things different, change things. So what is your ultimate moonshot in your life and in this election?
I think my ultimate moonshot is to do things I'm uncomfortable doing, because I think that's how you grow and that's how you really reach your potential as a human being. So I think the reason I have gotten this far in my career is because when I was a kid, my mom, who's an immigrant from Oaxaca, Mexico, would always tell me, don't tell yourself no. Let other people tell you no. You go for it. You do the thing that you don't know how to do, and let rejection come to you, but don't ever count yourself out. So I don't know what is in my future, but I know that I do have a great heart for public service and for community work, and to speak for people as much as I can and use my training and my privilege for that. But I think I will continue to do things that make me uncomfortable. Yeah.
And that's a wonderful way to end this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. My name is Aida Macedo, and I'm running for Whittier City Council District 4.